Hi, fourth graders. This is Miss Wilson coming to you today with another lesson in math. So today we're going to go over how to add and subtract fractions with like denominators. But before we get started, let's read some fractions. And when we read fractions, we first say our numerator and then our denominator. So this is 1/2, 1/3, 1/4, 1/6, 1/8, and 1/10. Okay, so again, our objective today, we will be able to add and subtract fractions with like denominators. So just a quick review, what is a numerator? Yes, the numerator is the number that is on the top of the fraction. It is above the fraction bar, and it tells you how many we are talking about, how many are shaded, how many are blue, how many are gone. What is the denominator? Denominator is the number that is at the bottom of the fraction bar, and it tells us how many we have in total, how many we have in all. What does a normal fraction look like? A normal fraction, the numerator is smaller than the denominator. So like in 3/4, our numerator is 3, which is smaller than our denominator, which is 4. So what does an improper fraction look like? So just like the word improper indicates M, IM is a prefix that means not, and proper means correct. So an improper fraction is a fraction that is not written correctly. So that means that the numerator, which is our top number, is greater than the denominator, which is our bottom number. And what does a mixed number look like? A mixed number is just that, it is a mixture of two different types of numbers. So we have a whole number and a fraction put together, and that gives us a mixed number. All right. So what is a like fraction? When fractions have the same denominator, they are what we call like fractions. And remember, the denominator is the bottom number. And you can add or subtract fractions when they are like fractions. That's the same as saying I can add apples plus apples, but I can't add apples plus oranges. So if our denominator is the same, you can't add and subtract those fractions. So let's look at some like fractions. So 4/5, 7/5, 6/5, 3/5, 2/5, and 5/5 are all like fractions. So as you see, they all have the same denominator. When a fraction has the same denominators, that is what we call like fractions. Okay, so when we add like fractions, we have steps that we follow. Our first step is make sure that you have like fractions. Look at the denominators and make sure that the denominators are the same. If the denominators are not the same, you cannot add them. So we have to make sure that our denominators are the same. The second step is we add the numerators. The numerators are our top numbers. And then our third step is we're going to write the sum over the denominator. Remember, the sum is the answer when two numbers are added together. And then we may have to put it in the simplest form. All right, so I have 1/6 plus 4/6. So my first step is to make sure that my denominators are the same. So my first fraction has 6 as the denominator. My second fraction has 6 as the denominator. So they are like, and that means I can add them. All right. So my second step is to add the numerators. So I have 1 plus 4, and 1 plus 4 is 5. Now, my denominator is going to stay the same. All my fractions have to have the same denominator. I repeat, I do not add my denominators. I only add the numerators. Now I'm going to put my 6 in my answer because, again, my denominator does not change. So 1/6 plus 4/6 equals 5/6. So subtracting like fractions are the exact same step, except we're subtracting now. So my first step is to make sure that I have like fractions. Make sure my denominators are the same. And then I'm going to subtract my numerators. Remember, my numerators are the numbers that are at the top. Then I'm going to write the difference over my denominator. Remember, difference is the answer of a subtraction problem. And then if I need to, I'm going to put my answer in the simplest form. So let's go by the step. I have 7/8 minus 3/8. First, I need to make sure that they're like fractions. My denominators are the same. I have 8 and I have 8. They are the same. Now I'm going to subtract my numerators, which is my top number. 7 minus 3 is 4. Now my denominator stays the same. So my denominator is going to be 8. So 7/8 minus 3/8 equals 4/8. Now I'm going to reduce this 4/8 because I can take it to a simpler form, which will give me 1/2. Because 4/8 and 1/2 is equivalent. Equivalent means that they're equal. All right, so let's do some together. I have 1/5 plus 2/5. So first I need to make sure that my denominators are the same. So I have 1/5 plus 2/5. My denominators are the same. They're both fifths. So that means I just add my numerator. And 2 plus 1 is 3. My denominators all stay the same. All right, so let's do another one. So I have 2/3 minus 1/3. So my first step is to ensure that both of my denominators are the same number. So I have 3 and I have 3. They are like denominators. So that means that I can't add or subtract. So I'm subtracting 2 minus 1 is 1, and my denominator stays the same. So if this denominator is 3, this denominator is 3, and my answer 3 is going to be my denominator. So my answer is 1/3. Okay, so our next one has 3/4 plus 2/4. Again, my first step is to make sure that my denominators are alike. I have 4 and I have 4. That is alike. So that tells me in my answer, my denominator is going to be 4. All my denominators have to be the same number in order for me to add or subtract. And then I just add my numerators. 3 plus 2 is 5. So when I look at this fraction, I have 5/4. That tells me that's an improper fraction because my numerator is greater than my denominator. That's called an improper fraction. Then our last one has 3/2 minus 1/2. So again, I have to make sure that my denominators are the same. So I have 2, I have 2. So in my answer, guess what? My denominator is going to be 2. Then I subtract my numerators. 3 minus 1 is 2. So my answer is 2/2. Now, one thing that we've learned is when my numerator and my denominator is the same number, that means that equals 1/2. When my numerator and my denominator is the same number, so I have 2/2, that equals 1/2. So when we add or subtract fractions with like denominators, we have to ensure that our denominators, which is our bottom number, is the same. That's why they're called like denominators. So again, this video and our objective is that we will be able to add and subtract fractions with like denominators. I hope this video helped you. If you have any additional questions, please reach out to your teacher. And thank you so much for watching this video, and I'll see you next time.